Most people think they have a money problem. What they actually have is a who's in charge problem. Because every time you spend money, avoid money, obsess over shmoney, or feel weird around shmoney, there is a specific part of you speaking. And most of the time, it's not the part you think it is. So in this video, I want to slow this right down and show you how money behavior changes depending on which part of you is at the wheel. We're going to look at money through four lenses: the inner child, the ego, the shadow, and the higher self. And by the end, you'll be able to recognize which voice has been running your financial decisions and why sheer discipline has never been enough. Because money is never just about numbers, it's about regulation, identity, and unprocessed emotions. Let's start with the inner child because this is where most money chaos doo-doo actually lives. When people emotionally spend, overspend, impulse buy, or feel addicted to spending, it's easy to label that as irresponsibility. It isn't. Frivolous spending is unprocessed emotion in action. The inner child doesn't spend money to be reckless. It spends money to feel something it doesn't feel enough of: safety, comfort, love, excitement, relief, acceptance. That's why emotional spending often follows stress, loneliness, boredom, rejection, or feeling unseen. The nervous system is dysregulated, and the inner child reaches for the fastest form of regulation available. Any form of addiction, whether it's shopping, food, gambling, scrolling, sexing, substances, or even overworking, is an inner child strategy. It's not about pleasure, it's about soothing. This is also where people get stuck because they confuse feeling with truth. You might feel anxious after spending and immediately think, I'm bad with money, or I'm going to mess everything up. But that thought didn't come from reality. It came from an old emotional imprint. This is where learning to think about your feelings and feel about your thinking changes everything. So, thinking about your feelings looks like noticing, I feel anxious right now, and pausing long enough to ask why. Is this current, or is this an old fear playing out? And feeling about your thinking is noticing, this thought is making me feel ashamed and unsafe. Is it actually helpful? Is it loving? Or is it just familiar? When the inner child is running money, feelings become facts, and that's why logic alone never works. Now, let's talk about the ego, because this one gets dressed up as confidence, ambition, and success. Ego spending is spending in service of image, not alignment. This is the kind of spending driven by proving, performing, or compensating, looking successful, feeling important, being seen as someone who has it together. Money used in the service of the ego often looks polished on the outside and empty on the inside. You can afford the things, but you don't feel nourished by them. This is where people chase lifestyle upgrades, luxury, status symbols, or aesthetics, thinking it will finally create a sense of worth. But the feeling never lasts, so the spending continues. There's also a subtler version of ego spending, overworking to feel valuable, tying income to identity, feeling uneasy when resting because productivity has become self-worth. Money itself isn't the issue here, it's what money is being asked to prove. When money is used to inflate identity instead of support life, it becomes loud, tense, and exhausting, and no amount of external success ever fully satisfies it. Then there's the shadow. And this is where things get uncomfortable but honest. Your money shadow is made up of the beliefs you don't consciously identify with, but quietly live by. Things like, I'm not worthy of wealth. Wealth is for other people, not for me. Rich people are greedy or evil. If I have too much, something bad will happen. These beliefs don't feel dramatic when you think them, they feel normal. And because they live in the shadow, they quietly sabotage from the background, subconsciously. You might say you want abundance, but if part of you associates money with shame, danger, selfishness, or moral corruption, your system will reject it. This is where money shame and the belief that good people don't want much quietly keeps people under earning, overgiving, or shrinking their desires. Shadow beliefs are so powerful because they don't argue with you, they just block you. And until they are brought into awareness, money will continue to feel heavy, charged, or inconsistent no matter how much mindset work you do. You will continue repelling money. Now, let's talk about the higher self. Your higher self isn't obsessed with control. It isn't interested in hoarding or gripping or proving. Your higher self craves flow, magic, surprise, expansion, and alignment, attunement. It wants money to arrive in ways that feel supportive, unexpected, and spacious. But here's the part people miss. The higher self can't operate through a system full of fear, shame, and mistrust. When your inner child is dysregulated, your ego is busy proving, and your shadow is running scarcity loops, your nervous system becomes a repellent to anything that doesn't feel familiar. Even when you're technically in control of your shmoney, you can feel deeply dissatisfied, like something is missing, like life feels smaller than it should. That's misalignment. It's the feeling of knowing there's more available to you, more ease, more support, more experiences, but being unable to access it because your internal system isn't calibrated for receiving. The higher self doesn't respond to force, it responds to safety, coherence, and trust. And this is why healing money wounds isn't about becoming better at budgeting and investing, and it's about creating enough internal safety that money no longer has to be chased, feared, moralized, or controlled. So if you want to understand your relationship with money, stop asking, how do I fix my finances? And start asking, which part of me has been speaking, controlling? Because money doesn't respond to effort alone, it responds to integration. And when the inner child feels safe, the ego relaxes, the shadow is seen, and the higher self is allowed to lead, money stops becoming a battle and starts becoming a relationship you can actually trust. And if you want to know what your money shadow beliefs are and how you're subconsciously repelling money, take my free money wound quiz. It is eerily accurate. It will reveal to you exactly how you're repelling shmoney subconsciously with all your money shadow beliefs. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, sending you love, and I will see you in a jiffy.